morning, good evening, and good night. Whichever the case may be that you are around the world, even though time is in fact relative. I am your host, Sulohland. In today's world, trying to understand the meaning behind repetitivity or repetition, repetitivity is not really a word, but repetition, to be consistent. And excuse me if you hear me, I am outside. And repetition is something that it's a plague when you live in a linear sense. Just yesterday, Distrokid itself decided to be bought out by a billionaire company for $2 billion. Now, Distrokid makes up roughly 40% of today's music, according to such article that will be having in the description below. And excuse me if I have to say this, but be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. It helps the channel tremendously against the algorithm overlords. Anyway, you must know that every time when something is bought out, it is changed. Whenever a company buys another company, they fire whoever was hired by that company. Roughly about a percentage of that company is fired and replaced with technologies and minimum of employees. What's going to happen is that 40% of people who make up the music industry, we're going to be charged through subscription-based. I mean, Distrokid is already subscription-based. If you pay for an entire year of their service, what's going to happen is, and I quote this because it's going to happen in our linear sense, in our linear lives, because this happens repeatedly. What's going to happen is they're gonna have a tier system. They're gonna make us pay, or make whoever pays for the Distrokid to pay certain tiers to get a certain amount of music out. Meaning that $40, $50 that you already pay to have unlimited amount of tracks to be put out, because a lot of people are just putting out AI tracks by the droves. What's gonna happen is that they're gonna charge you through a tier system. It's always gonna be the same of bronze, silver, and gold, as always. And it's gonna be a diamond tier, just like any other subscription base. And they're gonna charge at the wazoo, just like how they do like Netflix, Amazon, whichever the case may be. Because every single company follows the same business model. It works. I don't know why it works. I just like to think that, some people just don't understand that the internet is the internet. You can literally get anything off the internet. You don't have to go to Amazon, or you don't have to go to a Netflix. It's literally out there for you to see and watch. All you gotta do is literally, you don't even use Google to find what you need to find. You could just type in any browser search and find what you need to find, and it's there. Literally, YouTube has everything. Whatever movie you wanna look for is on YouTube. Whatever beats you need to be made is on YouTube. Whatever you need is there. But anyway, the company sold themselves for $2 billion, which is underselling, of course. But if we make up roughly 40% of the world of music, right? Do you know how much power that is? Do you know? I don't think you know how much power that is, because there's more power into being your individual self than someone pretty much controlling you. And that's just what it is, you know? It's always gonna be like that. There's always gonna be like a sense that every time there is a majority of people who are independently doing something, there's going to be an end game or a goal for some billionaire tech company to come buy it and say, look, I now control 40% of the world. 40% of artists, 40% of creators, 40% of independents, you know? And what does a company do with that power? They're gonna abuse it just like every other company, all the time. And all the time we are being fed lies at the lie of the lie about how, oh, we're trying to make things better for the independent artists so they can get paid more. Or we're trying to make things better so that people don't have to work so hard. Suno said the same thing. Suno put out an creator campaign where people who create can get paid off of their creations. Knowing damn well such a thing is not a good idea. You shouldn't be getting paid scraps and pennies for something that you created with your own hands. It doesn't make much sense. That's like going to a coffee shop, you asking for a large cup of coffee and they only give you a small. You know what I mean? It doesn't make much sense. And that's the harsh reality that we are all living in. We are living in a reality where I could be 100% of myself, but you take 10 to 20% of that. The company takes 10 to 20% of that. The world takes 10 to 20% of that. You can't be 100% your authentic self anymore because you're not getting your 100% authentic self. So that's why I constantly urge myself. I tell myself that this is the last year that I am using such services like Distrokid, like United Masters, like all these places, like all these distribution companies. This is my last year using them. I'm going fully independent and having my own thing with my own company, you know? And I wanted to announce this probably most likely on my own channel, my own company. Pretty much, I don't want it to seem as if it's a tech company, because right now it's still in this raw phase. But what my company will be doing is that we'll be helping out not just the little guy, but we'll be helping out people who are pretty much starting out underground, you know? And everyone deserves their fair chance. If they decide that they want to be famous off of something, or they want to be around the likes of the quote unquote celebrity, even though that concept is dying, that's their choice. That's the world they want to live in. Then, like any other company, will strive to make that possible for that person. But if there are people who don't want the celebrity status, who just want to be, who doesn't want the celebrity status, but they want the money that comes with that status, then that's another choice that can happen, you know? There's a lot of people out there that don't want that don't want to be the face, that doesn't want to be out there like that, but they would strive to, you know, have a comfortable lifestyle. That's something that I want my company to detach people from. Like, you shouldn't strive to be this celebrity status or whatever, everybody knowing your business, everybody knowing your life. I want to be able to help people detach from that while still maintaining a comfortable lifestyle. And we are so poised and fixated on our virtual selves, but not on our real selves. You know, people know every little thing about you, but you know nothing about yourself. So my company is pretty much striving to change that. I'm not gonna announce the name yet because, I don't want somebody to just come and steal the name, but that's what I want my company to do, to find solutions from our virtual selves. Because every single day we're on our phones all the time, and we're not giving our real selves any value. And that's what I mean by, companies coming and buying up Distrokid. Companies coming and buying up these places where, like Bandcamp and whatnot, you're just being your individual self, but you have to pay for it. You should not have to pay for you being your authentic self. You shouldn't have to. No one should have to. That's just the bottom line. I shouldn't have to keep struggling, or this is not me per se, but if I'm in the shoes of someone else, you shouldn't have to struggle to be you. You shouldn't have to struggle to find work, or find a venue, or find a place of community where you can thrive and be the best version of yourself. And that's what we're consistently struggling with. When you hear these stories about a company buying another company, is using that company as an asset, is using that company as a tax write-off, as a tax break. It shouldn't make sense that CVC, which is this conglomerate of multiple companies that's valued over $250 billion, and Phil going to, without even, it shouldn't make sense that Phil, who owns Distrokid, should go ahead and be bought out by another company without the consent of the 40% of customers of the world, which is millions of people. Without the consent of these people, including myself, sending an email, he should be able to send an email to every constituent who uses this service and say, listen, we value you. We're about to go under this contract to be bought out. There was no email or nothing. They just go ahead and went out and just got bought out and didn't say anything about it. You have to find out in the news article. What about the people that are using your service? Is there any shadow of a doubt? Is there any word of mouth? Is there any choice? And sometimes with these companies, there isn't any choice. These companies don't care about us. They just want their bottom line, and they just want their money's worth. Do you know how long it'll take for you as a CEO to spend the amount of money that you've been bought out as he's most likely, through that buyout of $2 billion, he's most likely going to get at least 2 to 5% of that money. And 2 to 5% of $1 billion? Come on, man. He's most likely making millions. Most likely he's getting 10% of that because of his shares. He's not getting 2%, most likely he's getting 10% of that. And 10% of $1 billion, we all know, do the math. You know what 10% of $1 billion is. It's at least $100 million, roughly, without taxes. And he's most likely getting even more than that. And it'll take you a lifetime to even spend over $100 million. If you're living day to day. And that's one of the things I'm talking about with our linear selves. We are all chasing money, chasing power, chasing all these things. But what about our real selves? No one seems to care about that. No one seems to, care about the everyday person that is working day to day, 9 to 5. No one seems to care about that. And that needs to change. not only needs to change for the better, it just needs to change in an overall sense. And let me help this turtle out. I'm looking at a turtle right now that seems to be stuck in a hole. I'm gonna help it get out of its hole. You deserve to find something better. You deserve a chance. But yeah, that's just how it is. And it needs to change. It really does need to change. And that's one of the hardest parts. How will we get that change? And the only way we'll get that change is by working together. Working together and making sure that we get our due, our dues worth, you know? Making sure we get that. And time again, we leave it up to the powers that be, and we never get our worth. We don't get our worth. And that's the sad part, especially within the music business, within business in itself. We never seem to get our worth. So be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And it was good talking, you know, about certain things. Like I said, I'm outside. I'm always outside every single time I do these type of things. But yeah, and until the next one, peace out.